right now live to Escambia County, Florida, where the Sheriff David Morgan is going to give us the latest on the investigation into the Naomi Jones murder.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan. With me is also Mr. Bill Edens, who's the state attorney for the 1st Judicial Circuit. Also, the gentleman next to him is Chief Deputy Chip Simmons of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. Wanted to give everyone a quick update on the status of the Naomi Jones case. As you all are aware, we've generated a lot of local attention and some national attention, and of course, as always, in our attempt to be transparent, we want to keep our community updated and briefed as to where we're at on the case. Of course, the best news we can bring to you today, unfortunately, we can, and that is that we have a definitive suspect and someone that we're seeking a warrant on to bring into custody. But to let you know that we're now up to over 350 tips on this case. We have conducted and vetted well over 90 of those. As you recall, we had 200 in our previous press conference. We've conducted over 300 interviews to date, and as they relate to this case, and again, those folks have been fully vetted. And we've served over 35 search warrants, and of course the warrant service continues. We've also requested the continued enforcement, which is basically our state equivalent of the FBI. Along with that, we have asked, and they have concurred, that the Federal Bureau of Investigation will continue to assist the Escambia County Sheriff's Office by virtue of the use of their VICAP program, which is the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program. And also we requested assistance from the Behavioral Analysis Unit. As you all know, the case began on May the 31st at approximately 12:21. One of our questions that's been persistent is, what is the timeline for this case? Again, we have verified that the last time that Naomi had a discussion with someone, it was on a that she had at her cell phone, we believe at her home, was speaking to a friend, and that was around 12:21 on May the 31st, which was last Wednesday. The medical examiners completed an area autopsy of Naomi, and the reason why I do the timeline that when she came up missing and now with the autopsy results, unless the analysis of the medical examiner changes, the ME's office is of the belief that within the first 24 to 36 hours, Naomi probably met her death, due to, again, the analysis of her remains at this time. Go into, of course, any detail on, some of the results of the medical examiner's examination. I will tell you right now that they have determined that the death was probably due to asphyxiation. And beyond that, I think we're probably not going to say anymore. We have asked the FBI to stay by primarily, and one of the things that they're doing for us, because there are, and forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to skirt an issue here. What I'm trying to do is to convey where we're at in this case and to let you know that we're aggressively working it without divulging some information that, would be, I think, detrimental to the healing of the family. But we also have a requirement for public safety to alert our community. We have asked the FBI to conduct a nationwide search on any criminal activity or deaths that share in it the same elements that we now know from the medical examiner's report that would lead us to anyone else in the entire United States that a crime has been committed with the same means, modes, and method as Naomi met her demise. Again, with the capabilities of the FBI, we think we can bring this to a quicker resolution. We get asked the question many times, we started out with, two individuals that were persons of interest. I want to reemphasize to everyone that just because you're named as a person of interest does not mean that you are a suspect or a potential suspect. You may be a person who is truly, as the word implies, a person of interest, meaning that you were a friend or an associate of Naomi, that you had contact with her over the last several days, or that you may have had a phone call with her that for
And you've been listening to Sheriff David Morgan. We're going to try to get the audio back as he discusses the investigation to this point of the death of 12-year-old Naomi Jones.
The big news today is saying that no longer do they have persons of interest. They have a definitive suspect that they are looking for, someone they are in the process of serving a warrant on. And today we learned how Naomi died. As you know, her body was found in 8 Mile Creek earlier this week, but we now know that she died from being suffocated. That news coming out this afternoon.
And she disappeared 1 week ago this afternoon. The sheriff said it's likely that she died within 24 to 36 hours after disappearing. That according to the preliminary autopsy. And he said there might be more work done by the medical examiner, but at this point it appears that she was dead within about a day to a day and a half of her disappearance.
He's talking a lot about how this is a very active investigation. They have the FBI involved, and he said they have gotten an astronomical number of tips. He said 315 tips, and they've even conducted 300 interviews and already done 35 search warrants to try to narrow this down to this one suspect. One thing we're waiting on, though, is when will this arrest be made?
And the last question
Let's
we're
listen.
normally asked by the community, you know, what's our status here, Sheriff, as far as, you know, are we safe? I would tell you, if I was a parent and I had a child, I would be extremely careful. We know through our work with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Federal Bureau of Investigation that there is a nexus here with social media. We have pulled up, you know, Naomi's history, you know, where again the applications of, you know, Marco Polo. I will only mention one, by the way. I certainly don't want to encourage children to go to some of these websites and applications. That there was some communication between her and individuals that access these applications and websites. You know, was that the reason for you know, her abduction and her untimely death? That is still to be determined. But I would tell you it certainly is a contributing factor. Children today grow up far too quickly, and we subject them to the predators that are out there on these sites. You know, we're placing our children in danger. So again, I would caution all parents in Escambia County, know where your children are, know what your children are doing. When you hand a child a cell phone, you're basically handing them a handheld computer, and they now have access to the world, both the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And your child now is subject to all of these predators that are out there. Be a good parent. Know where your children are, know what your children are engaged in. Question what they're doing and who they're associating with. We certainly do not need another Naomi Jones incident in Escambia County. With that, I'll pause and give Mr. Edens an opportunity to say a few words, and then we'll open it for questions as best we can. Mr. Edens.
Thank you. I'd like to join with Sheriff Morgan in making sure the general public knows the extent of the allocation of resources by both Sheriff Morgan's office as well as the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Our office is monitoring the investigation. It's a tremendous help to us to have the kind of cooperation that we have with the Sheriff's Office, where we become involved in major investigations such as this at the beginning. It's invaluable assistance to our prosecutors if this matter comes to a successful arrest. I again would mention that there's just been excellent cooperation among all of the agencies. There's been an unbelievable allocation of resources. I join with the sheriff in agreeing that social media has opened up the world of sexual predators and sexual offenders to many young people in America, and that really is a shame. And beyond that, I would close by again mentioning, I can't help but emphasize, in an investigation of this nature, it's extremely important to have an allocation of resources such as the ones we've had. Of course, crimes of this nature, by their nature, is very secretive and they're very difficult to solve. And that basically is the situation here. The agencies are working very hard, and we hope that we'll be able to bring it to a successful conclusion.
And with that, we'll open it up and answer any questions that you have. Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff, can you comment? I know you said that you didn't want to get into all of them, but can you say what app in particular was that Naomi was using that you feel like is the most troubling?
I mentioned one that has come up in the investigation, and I certainly don't want to mention any more. There was more than one. How about that?
Which
There
was that one?
Marco Polo, I mentioned that earlier. That's one of the applications that we know is part of this case.
You said that she was 24 to 36 hours that after she disappeared. Do you believe she was killed? Do you believe she was at that location where her body was found that whole time, or do you believe she was maybe somewhere else and that she was dumped there?
That's an excellent question, David. Part of the where we're at in this investigation, and part of our frustration and the reason why we're continuing to allocate the number of resources that we are, David, is we've yet to locate the crime scene. We have located, of course, where Naomi's remains were left, but we don't, have the scene where we believe, she met her death. So we're still searching for that. We do a lot of theorizing, if you will, as to trying to establish, okay, she left the house at approximately 12:21. We know that again now from the medical examiner, we believe at this time, we're still waiting for toxicology to come back. There's a lot of things in the examination of Naomi's demise that we still don't have information back on. But we believe again that from the time she was taken, that's about the time from 24 to 36 hours. We think, she was transported away from that area. Why? Because we've conducted so many interviews in that area, and we've yet to find anyone that noticed anything untoward. So that would lead us to believe that shortly after her leaving the house, she probably entered a vehicle. She's known to be a scrapper, is the words people have used about her, that, she was a private person. She wasn't so outward that she would immediately speak to a stranger. So what does that lead you to believe? That she had some casual understanding or relationship with this person. It wasn't a strange man that pulled up next to her on the street and rolled the window down and said, hey, can I give you a ride? The profile that we're getting so far of Naomi is she would not have entered a vehicle under those circumstances. And again, because she is, was a combative young little girl, she would stand up for herself is basically what people said. I'm sure she would have fled. She would have run. So those are the things that we're putting together along with our timeline. But again, at this time, it's all theory. We may find once the case is concluded that wasn't the case. But right now, that's the most plausible explanation we can come up with.
And when it comes to the timeline, earlier in one of your last press conferences, you said you didn't know when she disappeared. You mentioned anywhere between noon and 4. Have you guys been able to figure out that exactly, even though you said
we believe short, because now that we know from the time that the body was in the water, that we think, she was picked up almost immediately, if you will, when she left the house, transported to where we do not know yet. But within that 24 to 36 hours, her body was then placed in the water. And so we believe within the first day, she was probably murdered.
Just to make sure, I know you've already covered this, but to make sure, initially it seemed like the possibility existed that she may have died accidentally by drowning, perhaps. You're now completely ruling that out.
The information that I currently have from the medical examiner's office would rule that out, that her death was not due to drowning.
What is she, strangled?
Asphyxiation. I'll let it go at that.
Do you believe that any other physical harm may have come to her before her death?
We have information from the medical examiner's office, and I will not speak to that issue. Yes.
You said you went back through her social media history.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say or speak towards how long maybe she had been interacting with something that you, in your investigation, might not, or might lead to somebody who she may have left?
It may lead to somebody, yes, and we're not prepared to speak to, the information that we currently have for obvious reasons. I understand your desire to ask the questions. If I was a reporter, I'd be asking that same question. However, understanding if I release too much of that information as to what we have, anyone that we currently may have on our radar, we won't have for long.
Sheriff, has all her family been cleared? The immediate family, the extended family, dad's side, mom's side, is everybody in the clear?
Yes, Rob, they have. We have had, calls from individuals, family members, friends, alleging that, I know so-and-so did it, etc. Those are part of those leads that we followed up on through combination of, interviews. Many people have voluntarily submitted to polygraphs conducted by both our agency and the FBI. Those individuals to to the best of our ability at this time, we have no reason to suspect that they're involved.
And a follow-up, yesterday the headline of the PNJ said, social media, a huge contributor in Naomi Jones' death. You can take that one of two ways. How did you mean that? Was it a big help in putting the case together or point you all in the right direction? Or do you think it led directly to her disappearance and then death? Which way are we supposed to read that?
Well, it was contributory, Rob, in that, again, we have information that would indicate that she was a user of social media. I would at this time say that, that again was a contributing factor as to who she was communicating with. You all have followed our sting operations. We'll have an investigator get online and pretend to be a 13, 14-year-old girl. It's part of our ongoing operations to identify sexual predators online and then do the sting operation and make the arrest. We believe that possibly could have been what led to where we are with Naomi. Again, that's, I want to leave it at that, because if you say, well, do you have a direct link between someone she was communicating with and now she's deceased, the answer to that question is no. But she was a social media person.
At the top, you mentioned there was a suspect in custody, am I right? And then a warrant out for
I've never said there was a suspect in custody.
Okay, so we're calling these individuals persons of interest.
And I have no person of interest in custody.
There's no one in custody.
No,
But there's a warrant out for.
there is not.
Sheriff, you said you're asking Nation.
Now, I'm not sure where you got that information, but you didn't get it from us.
When you first walked in, you said there was a suspect and a warrant out for a second suspect.
No.
Maybe there's some confusion because you said definitive suspect and that there was a search warrant.
No, I was explaining the difference between a person of interest and a suspect. Okay, we have no warrants out for arrest at this time. I'm not sure how you got that out of this, but maybe I didn't speak clearly. We initially had, in our last press conference, we had two persons of interest. We have currently cleared one of those. We still have one that was on one of those two, but since then, I have more than one now. I'm up to three that I would tell you definitively that's on our radar that we want to find. Now, you say again, are they suspects? No, they are not. Okay, at this time, they are people who have an association with Naomi that may have information again as to she may have spoken to them, or they had a friendship to where they knew about a circle of friends that we don't know about right now. That's all that they are. Trust me, folks, I would love to stand in front of you and say, I'm looking for that guy right there. Okay? I can't define that for you today.
We know that.
Is there any money out as an outstanding reward for information leading to an arrest? And you mentioned about looking for a pattern among other people or other similar crimes. Is that purely precautionary, or do you actually have reason to believe that this might be part of a pattern?
Well, you're all investigative reporters. There is a homicide that occurred in Louisiana in 2013 that has similar. The case is similar to this one. I'll let it go at that. As for the reward money, I know that I believe through some of the some of the associations the Bureau has, there's $20,000. There was, $10,000, and there was another $10,000. Chief, do you remember who that was from?
It's FDLE.
FDLE has got $10,000, and Crime Stoppers is currently, I think, planning on putting $5,000, but I haven't gotten the word that that'll be, that's actually in the coffer yet.
Sure, that's it.
Okay, is everybody straight on the suspects?
Explain the warrant situation.
Yeah. Okay.
How difficult has this been emotionally for you and your investigation? I mean, this has some support.
Part of that is everybody's fatigued. Everybody's worn out because we're looking for a child, and so therefore, everyone is out there. Doing grid searches, looking for that, trying to communicate with other law enforcement agencies, tips and leads coming in all the time. Your big fear in these cases, as with all cases, is the one that you ignore is the one that you should have followed up on. So there's a certain amount, of control chaos, if you will. And so, we're in there for the long pull. We want to make an arrest, but we have to make the right arrest.
Sure. This is a very quick question to ask. Do you all believe that there was a sexual aspect to this?
Through social media, etc., I would say yes. And I'll let it go with that. On your warrants, I think what Amber and them are concerned about is we've executed search warrants. Search warrants have been executed. Okay, not arrest warrants, search warrants. Correct?
Staying on.
All right, so you have been listening to Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan give us the latest in the investigation to the death of Naomi Jones.
Let's listen
Let's
and their assistance. That's part of the technical things that they do. And so they'll assist us in nationwide database searches.
So it's possible that I guess the theory is that maybe the person or persons who may have committed the crime here could be doing this in other places.
Yes, that we do not want to take any potential or possibility off the table. That is a correct statement. Now, I don't care if you're from Idaho. If you committed the crime in Escambia County, I intend to arrest you. I want to find you.
Do you believe there's any connection to this other 17-year-old who's missing?
There is not. As we were walking down to hold the press conference today, Chief Simmons got notification from the Pensacola Police Department that young lady has been located. They're putting out a press release on that. I know all morning everybody's been wanting to tie the two together. There is no tie. She was found and she is safe. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you have any reason to believe, and I know you may not be able to say, but any reason to believe that this was happened with somebody who lives here locally, or that it was from somebody who may have been out of the area?
Andrew, again, I can't definitively tell you that, but again, we're not taking any possibility or probability of who it may be off the table. That's why, again, we've asked for the assistance, continued assistance of not just the FBI but the FDLE. Okay. Anything else? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Sheriff David Morgan clarifying what he had said earlier in the press conference. There is no definitive suspect. They do have 3 persons of interest in this case, but no one has been arrested. There is not a warrant out at this moment. They've got their eye on 3 different people.
And he laid out a possibility that Naomi could have been communicating online with someone. That seemed to be the indication. He said there was no real indication that she was forcibly apprehended from near her apartment. It seems like she was picked up by someone shortly after she was last seen. The sheriff said that it's likely that she was killed within a 24 to 36 hour period, and then the body was then placed in the creek, in 8 Mile Creek. He indicated that it was unlikely that she was killed at that location at the creek.
Yes, he says they have conducted over 300 interviews and they have ruled out that this could be a family member. So he did not give us any indication about who those persons of interest. Perhaps he indicated that it was someone that she may have met online. She was on social media. She did have several apps on her phone, including Marco Polo, which is an app where we looked up where you send messages, video messages back and forth with someone. So we're wondering if perhaps that's where they're honing in to find someone that she was communicating with. And he said that there was a sexual nature to some of those conversations that she had online.
And not clear, however, whether or not the girl was sexually assaulted, and not clear if they know that at this time, depending on the medical examiner. Still waiting for toxicology reports, but the preliminary autopsy showing that she did die within 24 to 36 hours of the disappearance. Catrice Nolan joins us now in Escambia County. Catrice, what are the big takeaways for you out of listening to the press conference from the sheriff? Okay, we just lost Catrice, so we'll see if we can get her back up in just a second here.
We will have team coverage tonight on News 5 and all of our newscasts beginning at 5 p.m. We'll be hearing from Catrice as well as Haley Minogue and others who are covering this story out of Pensacola. We know that so many members of the community are captivated with this story, with their eyes on this beautiful young girl who was killed earlier this week, and they would like some type of resolution. So we are going to stay with this coverage, and we'll bring you more tonight on WKRG News 5.
We'll see you then.
Stay tuned to WKRG News 5 for